Hi, this is Allison with Good Karma Photoshop Actions. I'm going to walk you through a quick portrait edit of this image here. This is our after image, this is where we're going, and this is our before. The only thing I've done to the before image is a little bit of cloning just to save some time so we can jump right into the actions. So again, this is after and before. Okay, we're going to jump right in. First thing I'm going to do is adjust her skin tone. I'm going to go under the skin tone adjustments under the Portrait Perfection set, and I see some magenta in her skin, so I'm going to play that action and dial that back. Probably somewhere around 10%. I think that looks pretty good. I also see a little bit of red. I'm going to play decrease reds and dial that back as well. And I think she looks a little cool. I'm going to decrease the blue and dial that back. Somewhere right around in there. I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, I'm going to flatten. And we're going to jump right into the minute retouch. This is a great kind of one-stop shop. It has a lot of the heavy hitters of the portrait set. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to dial back the brighten up. I think she's probably pretty bright to begin with. I used a reflector to light the right side of her face, so that made her plenty bright. I'm also going to turn on the portrait contrast pop and dial that back a little bit. Next, we're going to go into the powder foundation. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. And with a white brush, I'm going to paint on that smooth skin. And it goes on at a pretty high opacity, just so it kind of helps you see where you're painting, and then you can dial that back to a more natural effect. One of the great tools that you have at your disposal when you are painting is the quick mask mode. You can enter into that by pressing the backslash key. It doesn't really look good on your image, but don't worry, it's just a temporary visual tool to kind of help you out, see where you're going. I'm going to go ahead and enter that now. And you can see all those spots that I missed. I always think I'm doing a good job. Oh, excuse me. Use the bracket keys to make your brush an appropriate size for the space that you're working. And it's real important to avoid any defining lines, any lip lines, eyelashes, edges, anything like that with this brush. I think that looks pretty good. If I was doing this for a client, I'd take a little bit more time, but I think for the purposes of this tutorial, that's pretty good. I'm going to exit quick mask mode by pressing the backslash key. And a few more little spots there that I see, and then dial that back somewhere between 20 and 30% for a little bit more natural look. The next thing I'm going to do, just because it bugs me about this image, is sharpen up her eyes. Her eyes are noticeably soft, so if you select the selective sharpen layer and with a white brush on that black mask, paint over the area that you want sharp, you'll see that her eyes sharpen up quite nicely. Since we're working on her eyes, we're going to do the sparkling eyes next. This goes just over the iris of the eye. Her eyes are already this beautiful iridescent green. They don't really need a lot of this. I'm going to dial this back somewhere between 20 and 30%. And when the eyes are reflecting blue sky, the catch lights can go neon. The next layer up, we have the paint over catch lights layer to take care of this. Just take a real small brush, and with that mask selected, go over any of those neon colors that you may see. Gives it a much more natural appearance. I'm going to zoom back out. Here's the vignette layer. On, off, on, off. I like that. I'm going to make sure that's off of her though. I want it around her, but not on her. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to flatten and discard any unused layers. The next thing I want to play is the where is it? It's the saturation boost. Gives a lot of nice color. I'm going to dial that way back somewhere between 20 and 30%. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and flatten. And the next one I want to play is the highlight brush. Really just makes that hair look nice and shiny. And again, I'm just doing kind of a quick job here. And dial that back a little bit. So you can see there's with the highlights and without and with. Just adds a nice amount of shininess there to the hair. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. The next thing I want to do is add a little bit of drama. And I'm going to do that by going up to the Good Karma Essential set and play Enrich. And you can see that just adds a lot of contrast and a lot of nice drama. I'm going to dial that back a little bit. And I also want to take that off of her hair. I don't like how that's making her hair even darker. She had this beautiful jet black hair. We don't need to make those shadow areas any darker. Okay, so there's with Enrich and without and with. I'm also going to take it off of her skin just a little bit. I'm going to take my brush opacity down and brush that off of her face just a little bit, just a personal preference. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. If you have any questions, please feel free to post below. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy editing.